everybody. Welcome to Red Wings Rant, where tirades and impassioned pleas for your Detroit Red Wings finally have a home. You are going to notice, because I don't know how to work StreamYard yet, apparently, our guest is aboard. But real quick, thanks everybody for joining Red Wings Rant. Of course, we're going to kind of jump off our conversation from last week where you guys saw us mourning live the losing of the draft lottery yet again. We've calmed down since, and we've brought a friend aboard, Jake Rivard.
You say guys, calm down. I think you mean we're numb. It's a different word you're looking for, Matt.
I have since calmed down because we've gone over some of the prospects the last few weeks. We'll go over a couple more today, and there's been some announcements from some of our division rivals that maybe there's some juicy trade opportunities out there that we can talk about, and maybe we don't have to worry about drafting 5 players in the first 43 picks, and instead, we'll let the Leafs have a couple of those. Who knows? We'll get there. We'll talk about if that makes sense. But again, you guys can't see the at Rivard. I got to pull out our overlay there. I can't take into account having a third screen on here. But Jake, thank you so much for coming aboard. The last time you were here on our show, I don't know what it is. The Jake Rivard magic. Our live viewers just spiked. So it's been too long, at least from an analytics perspective. But from I love your takes. I love talking to you. It has also been way too long. Jake, how are you doing today?
Well, it's nice to know at least one person loves my takes. I'm doing pretty well. I got this nice romantic sunset going on, right? On the reflection. I kind of feel like Charlie Brown with the football when it comes to this Wings draft. Every time I get my hopes up every year, and every year I'm let down.
How about Brother Mike over here, as you guys can see on YouTube, also a huge Pistons fan, huge letdown, which I didn't realize how bad you could fall actually until yesterday, how much it could hurt.
Yeah, this is a 3-player draft, and we're drafting at number 5. So very exciting upcoming year for the Pistons. Can't wait for that. And the night of, similar event, we had the Office themed Happy Box, Sad Box, where if things went well, we'd open Happy Box, and we opened Sad Box. So not good. And I don't think I've yelled the F word that loud since about a week ago. So I've set 2 new records for myself.
Record time.
Yeah.
So that I know this is a Red Wings podcast, but did they roll that out the same way they did the hockey?
Yeah, pretty similar presentation. All the sad teams went before the commercial break, and so they did number 6, they did number 5. We yelled fuck. And then they went to commercial so we could black out together. And then they revealed the top 4.
You know what I think is interesting is, there's a huge writer strike going on in Hollywood right now. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, it didn't seem to affect the NBA or the NHL, who just so happen to have 2 huge market teams that are struggling right now, happen to both secure generational talents. What a crazy coincidence. Who would have ever guessed?
To that point, I was curious, Mike, did Kevin Weeks join the broadcast and announce movement of the Detroit Pistons to the number 5 pick before it was actually...
He actually did it, must have been I think 8 years ago when Tim Duncan retired. And they said, don't worry, when the next one comes around, we got you. And sure enough, the Spurs are hooked up. But, jokes on the Blackhawks and the Spurs, because they're not going to be in the lottery for the next 15 years. Suckers! In their faces.
Real quick, we do want to say hello to Jared. Jared noticed that, Jake, your name for a moment was Raycon. Chewy's aboard. Chewy, what's going on? Craig, how are you doing? Good to see everybody aboard so early. Of course, we don't get Jake here that often, so if you guys have special questions for Jake, that often.
Special questions.
How many years have we been doing this? We have guests twice a year. All right. So it is sad for all Detroit sports right now. So I don't know. I titled this episode, this live stream, Red Wings lose the draft lottery again. So I didn't really set us up for a happy episode here. But there's things.
It's not that big of a bummer. I mean, it is a bummer, but I guess what I mean is we could still find other things to talk about because now we kind of have a direction for the team, right? Now we kind of know what kind of guys are going to be available at our draft spot. Ooh, and you kind of figure out if it's a pick you want to keep, if it's a pick you want to trade away.
I wanted to bring this up. This is something that friend of the show, Prashant Iyer, put together. I stole this straight from his Twitter account, and this could highlight a couple things for you guys. One, and for any of the podcast listeners, what we're looking at is Prashant put together, as he does, another beautiful hockey visual for all of the different mock drafts that are out there and the different possibilities that people have put together at all these different spots. So we talked early, weeks ago, why did we want to land number 1 and number 2, besides the obvious reasons where you could see everybody in their mock draft has Bedard and Fantilli. It would have been a nice, easy podcast for the next couple of months. That would have been great. Just putting together different rosters. If we had the 2 pick, we'd have that one weird episode where we'd be like, what do we need to put together to, get Bedard? Do we give him Larkin and Ray? All that's gone. All those fun episodes are gone. But what we do have, and again, if you're on YouTube, you can see it. If you're on the podcast, what you're missing is just how many different takes there are. And I would say this, the spot that we're at, of course, we aren't getting the talent level of Bedard and Fantilli. And I wonder if you guys see this too in this graph. But I think I would say there's a lot of good opportunity here. We're in a position now where any of these guys after draft day, I don't think you could really be upset with anybody. I think there's wins you can get. There's some fun opportunities here with some guys dropping, but I don't think you can't fuck it up.
There's one name that I have my eyes set on, and I'm wondering if he's going to drop because of where he's from.
Michkov?
Matvei Michkov.
Yeah, my guy.
Yeah. I think he is the closest thing to Connor Bedard in this draft. I think he has the potential to be better. But given the political climate of Russia and how a lot of people are currently perceiving Russian prospects, it makes me wonder if, 1, he's going to drop, and 2, if he's going to make it to the U.S. at all. I'm leaning more towards he's going to make it to the U.S. and that it'd be stupid of you to not, take a swing for him. Because if he does and he winds up working out, I mean, there's your generational talent right there. There's the star scoring that you're missing out on.
Absolutely. And Mr. 2026 himself. I believe that's when his contract runs out over in the KHL.
And those things can be bought out too. I mean, I think Kirill Kaprizov's contract ended early so that he could make his way out to the U.S. So anything can happen.
There's definitely those opportunities. I will say, I would hesitate. I wouldn't jump at it. I think if that happened and Michkov dropped to 9, my first instinct would be to see if anybody a little bit further back wanted to give us some more draft picks.
Nah, I'd jump all over that too. Because at 9 and 10, you're able to kind of take risks for upside, for ceilings, and for a team that has 2 first-round picks. Go ahead and gamble on what might be the best player on the draft at number 9. And we'll flesh out our bottom 6 and 2028 with the other first round pick. So I think you absolutely take a swing at Michkov.
And not to mention the fact that we already have a reputation. I mean, the Red Wings already have a reputation for sneaking Russian players out of Russia. I mean,
that's true.
Sergei Fedorov. I mean, this is just a repeat of the cycle.
We got to get Keith Gave on the phone. Get him back to work.
We need you to bring your big suitcase.
Keith, your country needs you.
Jim Johnson, throw it in there. Chicago should not have been allowed the first round pick due to Kyle Beach situation. And also throws in a, hey, boys, what's going on, Jim? No, I mean, priorities are set for Jim. The more, important comment has been made. So priorities, then say hello. I agree with you here, Jim. I don't know how deep we want to get into this because this take has been already talked about the last week and a half. We've already been sad about it. And obviously this is something like I mean, what are the comparisons that are out there? The Coyotes did practice when they shouldn't have been doing practice and lose first round picks.
Devils lost a pick for an Ilya Kovalchuk contract that was legal. I
Right.
mean, at most, the Blackhawks had to pay a $2 million fine, which they immediately made up in ticket sales when they won the lottery.
And that was just one night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was them saying, "Hey, one night of Bedard, we got all this money back," but who knows what that number's at this point? And of course, the jersey sales are going to be insane for this guy. I mean, this is when you talk about generational talent. We're not, this isn't. I don't know. We don't know yet, but
I guess the NHL needs a new supervillain. So,
dressed in black too. I did have one question. So Wembanyama coming out for the Spurs now, and everybody's gaga over him. Greatest prospect since LeBron. But in France, he's playing 1 game a week. His trainers were purposefully not letting him gain weight because they were terrified his knees and ankles would give out. And he might only have a career that's like 10 years long. My beef with Bedard is I haven't found anything like that. It just looks like he might be a perfect player.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. Like he's put together, right? Like the Bedard. He has his own wrist shot. The way he dangles and combines the wrist shot, they've dubbed it the Bedard. So I mean, I know. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I wonder if, I mean, they've just started the rebuild. Would getting a Connor Bedard kind of set that off track? Because now you have a player that's just too talented for you to tank anymore. You're not going to be able to get these like super high draft picks. They still have a pretty empty prospect pool. I mean, they've got some draft picks here and there, but I don't know if this came at really the right time for them. I mean, there's still a chance. There's so much in the air.
Which I would say is just good news for us.
Yeah.
As, Red Wings fans and Chicago Blackhawk haters. I did hear maybe a silver lining to bring up the logo here. This might fire off an opportunity to rebrand this shithole team.
Relocate him to Cleveland.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah, I gotta say, like, it is a bummer. There is that exactly what you mentioned there, Jake, is another silver lining that if you hate the Blackhawks, this definitely isn't necessarily the route you want to go. But, I still like fuck them. And this is where this is where I turn into what's his name from Succession, and you come up with points.
Logan
and I have
Roy.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, with that, I mean, moving forward a little bit here, I kind of just lined up, this again seems to be a list that is going all over the place. We have guys that, on some people's mock drafts are going all the way up to 4, and there's a possibility they'll still be at that 9 spot. So there's a ton of possibilities for us. But like we've been doing week after week, and I think let's run through this and then we'll get into some more juicier topics of possibly moving these picks. But this is this week's mock draft. This is, of course, in the situation for anybody who's on the podcast. We're presenting picks 9. It should be 17 now. Of course, we haven't talked about that yet. Go Florida Panthers knocking out the Maple Leafs, because now that pick 18 is pick 17. Woo! It's going to make a huge difference. Now, if you're playing NHL 23, it's going to be easier to move that pick 17 instead of 8. I'm just saying, if you guys are going to redo the draft in next year's game. But yeah, we'll run through this real quick here. This week, we'll take a look at Dalibor Dvorsky. Center, 5'11", 170 pounds. David Reinbacher, Timur Mukhanov, Cameron Allen, and Carson Rekhoff. I was going to say Poff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are picks 41, 42, and 43. So Jake, normally what we do here, we're going to go through Scott Wheeler's take, give everybody a short introduction here. There's a lot of words here, but we won't read them all, so it's not fun. But what Scott Wheeler highlights is on this last paragraph here that Dvorsky's a highly talented and intelligent playmaker. And that's, for me, I'm going to already pause here. If there's one commonality that we can find, it's either, well, I'm going to say either already here, like an asshole. It's either we're looking for the unicorn type players that are going to be like those Simon Edmondsons, where it's hard to duplicate what you're looking at in a frame, right? The other one we always see is intelligent. But back to Scott Wheeler's take here, who actually takes the time to watch all these guys. That's our little asterisk here, Jake, as to why we, what are we going to do? We can watch highlights on YouTube. What does that do? But Scott says, playmaker who can threaten coverage in a variety of ways, whether it's carving through it in control and finishing cleanly. Love the word finishing. From the home plate area, sliding off of coverage to find pockets of space to get open into, or drawing coverage and facilitating. Does a wonderful job hanging onto pucks and waiting for options to open is his parenthetical there. He'll occasionally force things, but he usually finds his way through with his skill and strength on pucks and smarts. His statistical profile is really strong, continued progress in his skating. Keep it that way into the NHL. I expect he'll be picked a little lower than this, but I still like him at the edge of the top 10. All right. So again, coming back, he's got the center left wing profile for what he's been doing over in the AIK. 6'1". It's a pretty good frame to start with, I would say, from the center left wing part of the conversation here. It's something that I feel like when we're looking at these prospects, we see these higher skilled playmakers. They always come in a little bit smaller, but I'll take the 6'1". When that thing fills out, you're going to get 10, 20 extra pounds on, I'm going to say it, on the Connor Bedards. And that's a good thing. If you can't beat them with the skill, try and beat them with some size. Is this the be-all, end-all? No, but I like it.
That was my biggest question with Dvorsky. Does he have that dog in him?
If it's an intelligent dog.
I mean, there are plenty of them. You know, you got German Shepherds,
poodles.
You name it.
Poodles are very intelligent. Yeah, and they got some
sure.
bite to them. Yeah.
I can tell you guys firsthand that Havanese are the dumbest dogs on the planet. They just don't do well.
Yeah, this guy sounds like he's going to be a pretty solid prospect. And for me, I always lean towards guys who have like one sexy A+ skill, and this guy kind of feels like a lot of B's to B, B+ kind of thing. Yeah, I mean he could pan out, but I'm still looking for like a sexy A+, which it doesn't look like Dvorsky might not have. But I mean that's kind of what you get at number 9.
He's at least shown, like I'm looking at the notes here, he's shown that he can control the wall and point on the power play. So Scott likes his touch and weight on passes. I mean, if we're going to label him as a playmaker and all the conversation about him revolves around being able to control on the power play and get the puck into the right spot, maybe you're talking about your A+ on the power play.
I like one of the commenters said if Perrault and Bertuzzi had a baby.
Ooh.
That's a pretty astute observation there.
It's our boy Righteous. Thank you, Righteous. I do love that quite a bit. Reinbacher, just to run through this. So this would be our pick 17. Of course, FC Hockey hasn't updated that, so it's pick 18. What Scott's thrown out there, for me, this is a right-handed defenseman, 6'2". I will add 2. I don't know how you guys think about this, but the second you're not drafting in like the top 3, I don't care what the needs are. We just kind of go through and see who has the most talent, because it's going to be 2 to 4 years, I'd say at best, for any of these guys before we see them. So who knows what the needs will look like at that time. Scott throws in there. We sometimes see draft eligible D play their full draft year in a professional league. We seldom see them play big minutes in a good league, though, even when they're on the older side, like Reinbacher is with his October birthday. That's so cute. But that's what the Austrian did in Switzerland's top flight this season. Played over 20 minutes, more often than he played under it. He even drove results at both ends of those minutes with a positive goal differential on an under 500 team that was outscored pretty significantly. So I think the main thing to land on here, and Wheeler points this out in paragraph 2, is that pro size, right? Like this is a guy that, with where he's at right now and on the older end, as Scott points out, maybe you're bringing in a right-handed defenseman where you're not playing the 4-year game and maybe we're playing the 1 to 2 year game. And that's kind of what I liked about this. This is where I will lean into the timeline. Feels like it should be closer than further away. So let's bring in some prospects that maybe don't wow like Mike wants, but there's enough that is shored up and on that size. And damn it all to hell, I preface this by saying, like, you don't look for filling needs. But God damn it, if he worked out in 1 to 2 years, he got a right-handed defenseman.
Yeah,
fill that
he
need.
would be a tough one for Yzerman because I feel like Yzerman would view him as a tiny 6'2" defenseman compared to the other Ents that we have on the blue line.
Too true.
But yeah, I mean, it looks like he's going to be a pretty solid top 4 prospect. So yeah, wouldn't be I mean, playing in your top 4 as a prospect. Yeah, it wouldn't be a terrible pick. Thanks.
We have a
Cat
fourth
spotted.
guest, or a second guest here. Jared calling out. Jake, who's your friend?
This is Jimmy, not named after Jimmy Howard, though as much as he'd like to believe it. He really likes to make himself the co-host, whether you want to hear him or not. He's like a very opinionated man.
Yeah, I have a very talkative cat too. Had to lock that guy outside. So there we go.
We did. This is actually a good opportunity because we didn't give you this shot at the top, Jake. There, but does he have an opportunity to guest on the 313 podcast?
He has actually shown up multiple times. He's quite often appearing like a belligerent man wandering into a room. He'll come in, speak his mind, and then disappear without a moment's notice.
That is of course Jake's podcast. Jake, where can we find the 313?
You can find 313 Hockey on any of your favorite podcast platforms. I will actually, in relation to the draft that we were talking about earlier, there will be a special bitching episode that I'll be posting within the next few weeks. We're going to be doing a lot of research into the Blackhawks, and we're going to own them with facts and knowledge. So it's going to be very fun, and we're going to be really mean too. So
that does sound like fun. All right, so we run through these next few picks because we don't really have the data, and also they're second round picks. I know there's people that will mock draft 7 rounds. Definitely a crapshoot in my mind. There's research to be done, but now we're okay. So now we're talking about Timmer here, diminutive forward with outstanding skating ability, good offensive vision, lack of size and strength. Could hold him back. Has a skill to drive that pro level. Cameron Allen, two-way blue liner with inconsistent hockey sense, who defends well and drives play from the back end.
These are mean.
Yeah.
Did you open up a roast page? What is this?
Diminutive, like.
Projecting as a potential middle pairing defenseman at the NHL level. Wow. Could you imagine hearing that and then also being told
you headed to the NHL hockey sense, but also you're going to be a middle pairing defenseman.
Now this is Carson, and of course I'm going to take my time here. Rekoff, center, left wing, shoots left-handed, 6'1", 194 pounds. Intriguing blend of size and skill. NHL scouts are faced with quite the dilemma when it comes to assessing the Kitchener Rangers forward, Carson Rekoff. On one hand, he has a lot of qualities that would project extremely well in the NHL, such as high-level shot, explosive skating, and positional versatility. On the other hand, his off-puck play and physical engagement level have been widely inconsistent this year. So who is the real Rekoff? Can I be like, I am all about everything that is a plus for him. And these two issues, physical engagement and anything you want to label as like off-puck play, can be fixed. If you have trust in your AHL coaching staff, if you have trust in the ECHL to show this guy what it means to be physical, which I do think both of those leagues will do that job, and you trust what you're going to do development-wise, you draft this guy. No problem.
I'm a big fan of when players are good and when the bad things are small or don't exist at all. That's just me, though.
Yeah, when the negative is...
if they don't have any negatives, I'll go for those guys.
No, this guy, he sings to me. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Things that I feel like you can coach, which is, can you just do it all the time? So if he's got the high level shot, he's got the explosive skating ability. Yeah, I'll try and I'll get you to the NHL, and you just got to give it for us every night. So yeah, this looks like a
the Atu
pretty seductive description here. Yeah. Oh, Ratu. Yeah. Sing it for me.
All right, let's. Sebastian Cosa had a nice time playing.
Was he at the San Diego Chargers? Where was he?
He was at the Toledo Walleye.
Oh, right, the Walleyes. Okay. I like the powder blue. Looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't he look beautiful there? I actually, I kind of wanted to bring this up because I thought this was interesting, but we have some ads to run through. So you guys, we will be right back. But when we come back, we'll talk Sebastian Cosa, and then we'll talk about maybe stealing from the hated Maple Leafs. All right, we'll be right back. Light the lamp during the hockey playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. And if you're not a new customer, I am on that thing every night with those quick same-game parlays you can put together. One of them I was just looking at. You go tonight, you got Colorado, you get a line, you get a Mikko Rantanen goal, and boom, 3 things that, of course, it's against Seattle. It feels pretty good that's going to happen. That's just one of the many things that are on there, and they build up those little same-game parlays. Guess what? You're going to make a little bit more money because you're combining all of these things that are probably going to happen. Feels pretty good. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can make a $5 hockey playoff bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY for 67369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for offer details. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Let's face it, with coffee starting at $5, yes, even without any customizations, and our bank account somehow always depleting, we are officially entering a dupe session. Most products do the same thing, but are priced differently, solely based on the brand name. So a good duplicate, or dupe, is crucial for getting the highest quality and the best price. One dupe you definitely shouldn't sleep on: Raycon wireless earbuds. I use them myself. I'm using them every single day. This is not a wish joke here. You are getting high quality buds for not the cost of some of those other suckers that are out there. Raycon is premium audio at the perfect price point, so you can listen to what you want when you want without breaking the bank. Raycon's mission is to prove that you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg for quality sound and essential smart tech listening features. You can get a pair and a spare, still pay less than you would with some of those other more big name tech brands out there. Raycon knows that in this economy, every purchase needs to be perfect. They offer buy now, pay later options. Right now, you can pay as low as $18 at checkout, and you'll be listening to high quality sound. They have an easy free return guarantee. They offer 2 years of product protection. They offer free domestic shipping and flat free international shipping. They have over 50,000 5-star reviews. Like I said, I'm using it myself. Metallica just came out with a new album. You know what I could have done? Could have listened to it in my car. No, I waited till I got home so I could put those earbuds on and jam out properly. You got those 3 customizable sound profiles, the earbud tap functions. Oh my gosh, listening to a podcast and just tapping that sucker a few times and moving up to the more interesting parts. Hey, skipping over commercials, right? Maybe I shouldn't key on that, but hell. And noise isolation. If you want to take advantage of all of those fun features and the price point, go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score 15% off. buyraycon.com/THPN. Okay. You know what? That 4 minutes felt a lot longer watching Jake's face through that.
I work in advertising for my day job, so like hearing ads just sends me into this dissociative state. The million-mile stare.
Well, yeah, we were halfway through the DraftKings ad, and I realized I was playing our ad from almost a month ago. I was letting everybody know to bet on the Avalanche because they've got
great
a
call
sure
there.
path to the Cup.
Pretty good odds right now.
Speaking of championships, like we kind of teased there, Sebastian Cosa tallied a career best in saves on Wednesday, recording 43 saves on 44 shots throughout this postseason, as the Toledo Walleye posted on their Twitter. Cosa has a 4-0 record with a 1.25 goals against average.
Remember, he was a bust.
Yeah, I was told he was
like
bad.
2 games in. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, did you guys see straight out of being drafted his first chance in training camp 2 years ago against pro level hockey players? Didn't go
let's
great.
trade him to Chicago.
That was it.
When do they get a break?
I'm interested. Like this, there sounds like Cosa has an idea of a definite plan for Cosa, right? Like he said, this isn't verbatim. It's paraphrase here. I'm going to kick the shit out of everybody in the ECHL. I'm going to do the same thing in the AHL, and then I'll be up in the NHL.
Yeah, that's what he told me too. As a friend of the show.
Oh, perfect.
Word for word, verbatim.
Now, at what point have we seen enough with Cosa and knowing how crazy goaltending can be year to year for everyone? Is there a point that this looks juicy enough that you give it a shot? And I'm not saying I'm quite there. Maybe we're talking about juicy enough means you're in a Vegas Golden Knights situation and you're just calling up whoever's left to play. But yeah, to that point, I mean, clearly he made his point without using the word fuck. He was very professional. So I think he's got a good head on his shoulders to actually make that point and say, no, this is about me proving myself on each level. If you see a good start next year in the AHL and this sort of looks like it's building momentum, how do you feel?
Well, we got 1 year left on the Husso contract by then, and assuming he's still good, I mean, you could slowly transition him into a backup role and then maybe 1A, 1B if he continues to crush it. I think it also depends on where the team's at too. Do you throw him into the fire with playoff hopes on the line, or like do you kind of ease him into it?
That is a great point.
It's
go ahead,
where
Mike,
I'd almost say I wish that hockey would take a little bit more of a page out of baseball's book, where baseball in the last year or two, and we've talked about it a little bit, they're calling guys up from AA because they're like, well, we need a hitter, and this guy's hitting like 400 against pretty good talent. So it's almost like Cosa is already starting to cook, and it's like, well, do we want him to cook in Grand Rapids? Or, I mean, this Red Wing team is not like, desperate for points in the regular season, and this guy's showing some acumen, so maybe we do kind of just throw him in the fire. In goaltending, it just seems so hit and miss, where it's almost like every other year these guys are having like complete career resets outside of like the Vasilevskis, where it's like, I guess we could see what we got. Maybe that's a little bit more of an extreme approach, but
yeah, Bobrovsky's doing putting up crazy numbers right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that crazy for me for him to get called up to Detroit like next season. He's just going to be stopping pucks, and he's still going to be 6'6". So now he's just going to be wearing a red jersey instead of a bright, beautiful blue powder jersey.
Yeah, Jim Johnson throws out there 2 years in Grand Rapids and should be ready for the NHL. I mean, you know what? If I could say too, I don't know if there would be a rush, right? To bring him up. I don't think we could all give a hot take here. I don't know if we're definite for the playoffs next year. So, what do you bring Cosa up for? Is just to see what he looks like. And at that point, is that even the game I'm playing right now? But again, Jake, to your point, if you're in a playoff push, you have some meaningful games. Maybe Hossa does go down. Is that the point where do you want to see what happens? You're going to roll through maybe a first round like the New Jersey Devils did with Akira, and maybe it's
Yeah, I mean, when he gets called up, right, they're going to want to know that he can already know how to play the boards. He can, call out, make some helpful, calls for, the defense. But it's almost like in pitching. Like, can you throw 100 miles an hour? Well, then you could probably strike out, guys at the major league level. Are you 6'6" and you already take up most of the goal? Like when we played goalie as little kids, and you're stopping like almost every single shot that you're seeing. Well, yeah, I mean, can you play the boards a little bit? Yeah, throw me in there, coach. So it's almost like it's not that, out of the, realm of reason to see him getting called up sooner than that. That 2-year window that I think somebody pitched.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a good point. You would wonder, though, like...
Well, I mean, how do you unseat Magnus, Whoa.
Yeah, huge shoes to fill.
Well, yeah, they are kind of big shoes, honestly.
Chewy threw out there, who is the backup next year? Because I believe we've got Ned off the books. I'm pretty sure Hellberg's contract is up too. So
yeah, I think
they're both out. I don't know. They might bring one of them back. I don't know. I think Yzerman said in his closing press conference that he didn't mind the thought of either of them, but he'd have to make a decision. If not, I'm trying to pull up the upcoming free agents so we can take a little peek at what kind of goalies are available.
And by the way, I know my idea is wild because what they're going to want to do is make sure that Cosa can play, 60 games every single game and, not have him play hot potato with Huso every other game. So
maybe we pick up 37-year-old Jonathan Quick.
Cool. Whisper those sweet nothings. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at the list right now. It's slim pickings. You can pick from, Cam Talbot to Freddie Anderson might not be the worst idea, but he also might, be able to score a starting job. Aiden Hill, I'd be okay with Aiden Hill. Jonas Corposalo.
Jim Johnson throws out there Aiden Hill or Corposalo.
Yeah. He was doing good for Vegas, or he is doing good for Vegas right now.
I wanted to propose maybe we'll get a backup by taking on a contract that Toronto would like to get off the books. And we just get a shithole backup in Matt Murray. What do you think? That, of course, coming off the point here, Frank Saravelli, where Kyle Dubas has said potentially trading one of the core for a seismic roster move this summer, that Dubas won't take anything off the table. Of course, our friend Down Goes Brown. This is, of course, the right answer to that question. Finally, glad to hear it given. Now, that was my horrible transition into this conversation. But it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt to say maybe we don't want to give up too many things, but we'll take this awful contract that you probably shouldn't have traded for in Matt Murray off your books. But you will also give us a Nylander, a Mitch Marner.
Yeah, I love a good clickbait article, tweet, paragraph at the bottom of a Freep article. But it's that's going to be like a 1-for-1 trade where we'd have to give up some pretty juicy stuff, I think, to be trying to pillage from Toronto. We'd be giving up some of our sweet prospects, and Yzerman likes those first round picks. So I can't get my hopes up too high for that.
I saw a pretty bad article by the hockey writers. Shout out to them. It was a Leafs writer said that the Wings should grab Matt Murray and that it would cost them a mid-round draft pick. And I'm like, cost who?
Whoa!
Cost who? Yeah, I am not taking Matt Murray unless you are getting a hefty sum in return. And I get the feeling that if they're going to trade a guy like Marner, they're going to look at somebody of his caliber or higher. So you're looking at like one of those, perennial 90-something point players.
Is there enough, in your guys' opinion, with what the Red Wings have? Is there anything they could put together? Because you're right, Jake. They don't the first round picks could move. Maybe that's what we do to get ourselves over on somebody else's offer. But if this was something, and I'm talking, if this is seismic, it goes both ways because you're breaking up maybe like a timeline. You're breaking up future plans. But you're talking about, and I'm trying to match up positions here too. But if they see enough in like Lucas Raymond, of course, they're taking a lot of money off the books. You're talking about maybe a Simon Edvinsson being tossed in there, probably an ask for a Moritz Seider.
That's pretty hefty. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about like key building blocks of this rebuild. And
I would go ahead.
Yeah, while I'm a big like Mitch Marner fan, I think he's like a good player. I don't think that he's going to be, the 90 to 100 point player that he was with Toronto if you put him, say, on Dylan Larkin's wing. When you're feeding Austin Matthews left and right, like of course you're going to be putting up points like crazy. I wonder if they're going to look at a guy like Mikko Rantanen from Colorado, and if they're just going to do a straight one-on-one for him. But
my pause with Colorado is I feel like with them losing Landeskog that they're going to be the ones trying to trade away as much as they have in their prospects and draft picks to try and fill out the top 6 again. So I do love that idea. I do love me some Mikko. I just to play off the Dubas quotes. I will say, I think that is a conversation that Dubas listens to. But Mike, I want to get your take. But I don't know. It scares me, to be honest. But it is the conversation that I my ears wiggle. In like the old Disney cartoons when the bunnies could hear the other bunnies and you see the little kick.
I would say don't be too afraid. I'm pretty sure the only conversations Dubas is going to be taking are from Colorado to do 1-for-1 trades. I don't think the Red Wings really have the guns to be swinging these massive player acquisitions unless you're telling me that they're in the negotiating room with Matthews and he suddenly becomes like an NBA diva and says, "You trade me, I'm not playing here next season, I'm done." I think it would take that kind of emotional,
and I'm
outburst.
Only playing in Detroit.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it would be,
I'm also
mortgaging most of the future.
I'm also wondering if Kyle Dubas is even going to be there next year. He said in his press conference that he's like, I'm going to take the week off and then I'm going to talk to my family about what we want to do. Because I don't know if you saw any of the videos, but it was very emotionally taxing on him, apparently. He's like screaming at fans in the stands, like, having mental breakdowns, watching these games. Like, I kind of think that he needs to go back to his day job of being the lead singer of Weezer.
Yeah. There's something to like Detroit Lionitis, right? Which the Toronto Maple Leaf fans can definitely, empathize with because it just seems like you're jinxed. That's where I feel like you'd get some, emotional request for a trade where it's like, I just can't do this anymore. Please, I want to win a cup, before I'm in my 30s and it's too late and I'm just on the coattails somewhere. At age 38, getting paid $1 million, to be on the coattails of a good team. So that's kind of the Red Wings' best shot at one of these superstars, bundling first-round picks, and then you'd have to get rid of two dudes you like a lot, an NHL guy like a Raymond and a prospect that you love.
Now we have seen here in the chat. Sorry, I have 2 things going on here. Jim threw out there, coming back to when the Winnipeg Jets got eliminated. We talked about this. We highlighted Nikolai Ehlers. Jim throws out there Kyle Connor or Scheifele. Scheifele was actually one of the points from our buddy Max Boltman today on The Athletic. He released an article for a couple more of these trade targets. I know Kyle Connor has the hometown connections. Scheifele is just this conversation of like, do you want to add 40 goals? Do you want to add a minus 40 as well? Scheifele's your man. So it's it's one of those things like you almost are willing to trade it if you can get the right coach, which I think we trust Lalone to manage Scheifele and what's going on with the ice time there. That's something we've actually been pretty hot on is always thinking about these players that are issues defensively and knowing that there's a way that you can manage when they hit the ice, just to kind of limit whatever those issues are. But I did talk over you there, Jake. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I'm even wondering about like Clayton Keller in Arizona. There was actually a very interesting tweet today. Clayton Keller's dad replied to a Greg Wyshynski tweet about the Arizona Coyotes and their arena clown show.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like,
that
Clayton will not be coming next year. He will not be playing in Arizona next year.
along with other players.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty wild. For anybody that doesn't know, Arizona, what do we say? Tempe did not vote to start this $2 billion project for an entertainment center that would also include a $1.9 billion investment, we'll say, from the ownership team. So it wasn't even going to be completely on the city. So they were just like, no, get these fucking Coyotes out of here, which is just crazy.
Thing. I feel like it wasn't even like votes against, that it was just nobody showed up to vote, which is arguably worse because I don't think anybody cares. The only people you ever see in Arizona are wearing Red Wing jerseys. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but it's usually Red Wing fans out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, you want to show some sympathy there. We've had some Arizona Coyote podcasts guesting before, and the fans fan hard.
Feel for them, yeah. Like,
yeah.
Those poor guys, like
all 7 of them, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
no.
if they were like a legit, pretty good team, like I mean, you look at a team like Carolina or Florida, where they used to struggle to sell out their arenas, and now they're packed to the brim every game. I mean, obviously, a good team is going to attract good, good fan base, but I feel like they just cannot catch a break out there. And at this point, do you keep them in Arizona, or do you let them fly off to greener pastures?
Or whiter tundras up in Canada?
I was thinking Milwaukee.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah. Because then we've done the Quebec City experiment. I'm over it. That's such a safe bet. That's like opening a leather shop in Arizona, Oh wow, of course it's going to be a hit, or like a brewery in Grand Rapids. Oh wow, that's going to be a hit. You put a hockey team in Milwaukee though, and you've got an immediate rivalry with Minnesota, Detroit, and Chicago. I mean, they're right in that Bermuda Triangle of hockey fanatics, and it could get ugly. It could get pretty too. Who knows?
I do really like that. I know the other city too we haven't said yet was Houston, which I think the game they play there is just that there's so many people, they're gonna run into enough willing participants for the franchise, which is kind of like when you look at those graphs, like that kind of looks like what they've been trying to do with some of their, the Gary Bettman, fingers crossed. Speaking of which, guys, Gary celebrated a very fart in the wind anniversary, his 30 years with the NHL, the longest tenured commissioner in professional sports. I don't know. Are we ready to say the number 5 in U.S. sports at this point? Can we all agree? Soccer has usurped.
I want to know how long all of these other, commissioners have been around, like Adam Silver, Roger Goodell.
It feels like Goodell should be up there.
Yeah, Goodell's probably been around for a minute. Yeah, Adam Silver started in 2014.
Goodell's got to be like 15 years, I feel like.
Bettman's been around since 93. Manfred's been since 2015. Let me see.
But yeah.
Goodell started in 2006. Yeah. Sheesh.
Wow.
So this guy, he must just be really good at polishing the knobs of owners, right?
Surely.
Oh my God. Yeah.
God, 30 years of polishing knobs. We need to redo that graphic a little bit.
Is there anything that you got? I mean, this is the question, right? Like right now, we're
the NHL career.
Yes, the NHL is celebrating this. What is there anything you could possibly think of if you could rack your brain right now?
I would say
that has gone right thanks to
expansion
Gary.
stuff is not horrible, right? Seattle and Vegas. Can we give him credit for that?
There's big success there. I like the fact that the cup hasn't been lifted in Canada in pretty much since he took over. I think that's pretty cool.
That's good decision making. Yeah. No,
They finally did. My God, they finally transitioned over to ESPN. It only took them basically 30 years to figure it out to be on the main sports network for the whole country.
Yeah, they're slowly but surely maybe catching up to where they should have been 15 years ago.
Yeah, they are going to have to redo their jersey deals. How long do we have on those, Matt?
Oh my God.
Oh, you mean after Fanatics runs out? After 30 years of Fanatics?
If they run out of upside down Red Wing logo jerseys?
What's going to last longer, the Fanatics deal or Gary Bettman?
Gary Bettman, he's like that WWE commercial, like then, now, forever. He's never going away.
Well, that'll be it though, right? Like they might see, like that's the thing. Like the NHL has always depended on the super fan, right? Like they make the argument. Like think about that ESPN game at 10 o'clock, and the quote that I saw being thrown out by an anonymous source was, "Real hockey fans will watch that 10 o'clock Connor McDavid game," and it's like,
you know,
is that the goal of going to ESPN was to only bring over the real hockey fans, or are we trying to expand this game?
That's another thing that's been driving me crazy is you'll notice a lot of Canadian fans are like very upset about the current Final Four. And they're like, oh, well, it's on, like nobody's going to watch those games. Nobody wants to see that. And I'm like, oh, dang, dude, maybe build a better team next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, sheesh.
No,
I mean,
all I can think about is Hulk Hogan body slamming Gary Bettman in the ashes of the Silver Dome. That's all I can think about.
But I was on that Fanatics jersey point. If Gary's done right by these teams and making sure that they were benefiting, that could be a breaking point for fans if they aren't happy with that output. Because again, to come back to the hardcore fan and to say that that's where their focus always is, the hardcore fan is already furious about this, and they've all made their statement. I'm not buying another jersey now, or they're stocking up on the prime green blank ones right now so you can get your Casper later. So to that end, maybe they've burned the hardcore fan. They have no interest in bringing in new fans, so that could be the end of Gare Bear.
Oh, and Matt, throw in one of our favorite buddies is here. Curtis got a pretty good comment. Hi guys, Jim is right. Bettman is a bum, and the player safety department is a total joke.
Good old player safety department.
Yeah, for real.
Oof. All right. Well, I saw Blake's first half. He's never done anything for me. Chewy goes out there needed to replace Batman.
True.
There hasn't been a good Canadian team since 2004. Blake,
That's not true. 2019, the Raptors won the NBA title.
On
the
there we go.
load managed track of
Bettman's
Kawhi
pet
Leonard.
project is over. All right, what else do we have in the slides here? The one thing we did bring up, and I used one of our conversations about Bettman to bring up this point, but everybody's talking about blowing up the Leafs here. Nobody's talking about blowing up Connor McDavid's team, Ken Holland's team. Is there anything here
that you want? Let me see.
Well, no.
Yeah, there's this guy. I hear he's pretty good. Leon Draisaitl. I hear he's pretty all right.
The name Hyman still makes me laugh. What was your question, Matt? Sorry.
I wondered if there's anything here juicy enough to at least give Kenny a call. Say what's up. Because obviously you'd want Draisaitl and McDavid, but
I guess
has Kenny just done such a poor job building around those two that he's just stuck with what he's got, and he's just got to keep turning over the unrestricted free agents and crossing his fingers.
Who let bro cook? Like, the more I'm looking at this roster, the more I just have so many questions. Like,
it's a rough one.
It's very top heavy. It's very much like, here are all of these amazing players and then a couple pretty good depth pieces, but there's like the supporting cast is just leaving a lot to be desired.
Yeah,
Matt,
it's
is there any wiggle to your noodle for Ekholm or no?
I don't think Ekholm's going anywhere. That's actually a very good deal for Kenny Boy. That might have been his best move, I think, since he came over to Edmonton.
yeah, and you'd have to get to the point too, like if they were out in the first round and they were really bringing the pitchforks fan wise, I think that's when they get a little more desperate. But I think they still get to say like conference finals last year, second round this year, we're feeling pretty good. It's just we've been playing this game week after week of all right, who's been eliminated? Let's see if we could steal from their roster, and it just brought this. I don't know, like from an NHL fan perspective, and like this year and last year, we got that close taste. Like, oh man, wouldn't it be great to see the best hockey player of this generation?
Probably the best athlete currently playing right now. Like,
yeah,
like he is just the most dominant athlete in all of sports.
See him in the games that matter, the Stanley Cup Finals, right? And we didn't get it. And seeing this just made me mad and sad that I don't know.
I didn't realize like how much. I don't want to call it like cap space, but like when you compare this to like the blue Maple Leafs roster. I mean, they're filled with like 4 or 5 guys like making 10 mil, and it's basically McDavid and Draisaitl kind of. I kind of have that same epiphany. I didn't realize it was that devoid of depth.
Draisaitl's like a dog in the playoffs, though. I mean, like,
yeah,
I think he might be like the best. I think a good friend Prashant Iyer said something about like how he's like one of the top 3 highest scoring players in the playoffs, like of all time, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, his this $8.5 million contract, which we're not padding, it's not a Ken Holland thing, but that contract might be the best contract
bargain.
in all
might be
sports.
the best bargain. Yeah,
and it's immediately offset by Darnell Nurse.
Yeah,
like not even a second of hesitation.
Curtis thrown out there is the Oilers struggle, just karma for signing Evander Kane twice.
Yes.
Good timing on that one. That's good. That's great comedic timing, actually. I'm going to give you a great. All right. So we are running out of things to talk about. There was one thing we kind of discussed before we started recording. And where are we at? What's the time? 50. Okay. So we're almost at an hour. Basically, so we have 2 minutes here. I don't know if we want to get too deep. We were talking about GM.
Great time to start.
We're going to talk favorite religion. Jake, favorite religion? No, go ahead.
You know what? You're right. Let's make this easy. We'll tease this. Mike and I will talk about next week. We'll talk about Steve Yzerman and comparing him across the league. But
Jake was our guest who was supposed to talk Elden Ring with me.
That's where I was going.
I just started my 5th playthrough.
But I was going to ask him, did you get the new Elden Ring, the really easy DLC?
I didn't know they had a really easy DLC.
It's it goes by Zelda. It's that new,
yeah. I started that.
Yeah.
I played it a little bit and I was like, wow, this reminds me of Elden Ring. And then the itch came back again. Every single time I played a new game, it reminds me of Elden Ring.
Oh, man.
I'm now on the 5th playthrough. I do a different build every time.
You got 3 on me. I only did 2 full playthroughs.
I can't help it. I'm addicted.
Because you're not on the show all the time. If you could give, I don't know, maybe a 2 to 3 sentence endorsement for Matt to pick it up again. I know you got 2 kids, Matt, but you got to get back into this greatest game ever made. Jake, how can you seduce Matt into Elden Ring?
Get good. Try a new build and return to the land bathed in rays of gold.
Oh man.
I was going to go with some other deep. I was going to say something about Melania, but what can I say that hasn't already been said?
I do want to do it, right? It's just the goddamn kids. I can't get good.
Get them to play.
Ooh, yeah.
I got my daughter to beat her first video game, which was she's going on 4 this summer. So I don't. That's too early to say.
Oh,
4.
what game was
She's
it?
3.
Bloodborne.
Yes. No, it's the Astros Playroom, the free game on PlayStation 5.
Oh, okay.
Which that's a really good game. I know that's difficulty level not quite up to par with what you guys are used to, but
I think you need to see. She's
Proud-
such a
proud
Disney
papa.
fan. I think you need to see if she's a prodigy and give her some
Throw
of
in
the
King of
Genesis
Hearts.
like Disney games. Like see if she can beat Lion King. See if she can beat that fucking Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse game that we could never beat.
that was the first game we actually played. Was the combo?
Give her Aladdin without
Nintendo
any cheat
Switch.
codes, Matt. See what kind of daughter you have.
All right, I promise I will re-download
Those
Elden
games
Ring.
those
tonight.
games will be free, but the therapy she's going to need afterwards.
Why do people play these?
She'll be right on par with her dad. All right. So, wrap it up. Jake, can't thank you enough. We can find you at Rivard NHL for everybody who's watching on YouTube. You can see it now. That is at RIVARDNHL. And the 313 Hockey Podcast, as you stated before, Jake, find it anywhere podcasts are sold.
At the podcast store.
Yeah, at the podcast store.
Mhm.
Jake, can't thank you enough for coming along. I had some fun. It's nice mixing it up with a third opinion here. And we'd love to have you back. Maybe I'll remember to bring up Elden Ring earlier in the show.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, next time you're
All
back,
right.
I will have one playthrough done.
That's
We'll
right.
do that.
I'm
So
holding you
that's
to
5
that.
years
We'll
years
s-
from now. I'll
Jake,
be-
we'll see you in 80 hours.
Yeah, no kidding. Get yourself a babysitter.
All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. You guys have a good one.
Peace.